Welcome to the Are You Mad at Me podcast.
I'm Vickie Morgan.
I'm Josh Morgan.
How the hell are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm going to put the mic closer to my face so that audio crew has a not as difficult a time editing. And thanks to the crew. Again, let's do it. Before we go any further, let's thank the crew.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, guys. Jim, Bob, and...
Stop naming them. It's less believable.
Freddie Johnson. And...
As he said, it's the Are You Mad at Me podcast.
The answer is yes.
Usually. So we want to welcome our guest today. Also Vickie, we call her.
Yes, we have our returning co-host.
And there is still
Vickie too.
There is still space on the couch, so pull up a chair or sit on the couch. Just sit on the couch that I just told you about and grab a cup of tea, press pause, go grab a cup of tea, cup of coffee, some tequila. I don't care. Get something, cozy up, and hang out with us for a little while. And welcome back, and thanks for listening all this time. We're on episode 10 today, Josh. Congratulations.
Episode 10.
Is that the aluminum anniversary, I think, for podcasts?
I think so. Yeah.
So Vickie too is wearing one of the sweaters that I talked about, I think, last week that I was knitting. It's called a top down. So you start knitting at the neck and knit down, and it is weird. And I don't have the proper...
it looks fantastic. It's a beautiful sweater.
So it's stitched together in the back.
Sorry for those of you that are just listening to the audio.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful sweater.
It is. It's pretty on the mannequin. It does not look like that on a real human. And it's all stitched up in the back because I didn't have a circular needle at the time. I have a circular needle now, so I started over. And I started on a smaller circular needle, doing a smaller yarn, and not happy with either one of them. It's kind of like the shirt that I tried to make over the summer.
I think we should talk about how you ended up with the circular needle, because you were going to get one from Walmart, and we were going to get it from Instacart, and we couldn't find it anyway, it wasn't working. So you rigged something up, and you made this sweater, and you weren't happy with how it worked.
Yeah, it was bad.
So last week we went to...
I taped some needles together. I taped a big needle and a small needle to get the 15 millimeter gauge that I needed. And it was a nightmare because I put that painter's tape around it, like the masking tape, the paper stuff.
Yeah.
And I wrapped it around, and every single stitch I had to pull over the tape. And there was this big ball of fluff attached to the tape.
Because it was sticking to it.
Horrible. But I was already in that far. So I did the sleeves on that nightmare. And I don't know. So I think I'm going to actually put a negative review on the pattern because it's impossible. Based on what they tell you to use, I'm doing the stuff, and it's still like impossible to do the top anyway. No one, unless you're a knitter, this is a waste of everybody's time. But you know what? Here's our Nateland segment where he talks about golf. So I'm going to say I'm still loving the Nateland podcast. We're up to like 70 something. Absolutely loving it. Love it. Absolutely love it.
What I was going to say about
right.
the knitting needles was we went to a restaurant. We went out to eat for Peter's birthday. Was it Peter's birthday?
No, it was a funeral. We went to
a funeral. It was a post-funeral dinner.
We had our own little Irish week. We were walking away from the funeral.
We had a reception.
Yeah, and we were walking away from the funeral, and my oldest was like, that was depressing. And I know, like that seems like a normal response, except he was exactly right. It was like, we're Irish. I mean, most of us are Irish. Most of us as humans are like,
the boys have
most
been
of the people in this house are mostly Irish, and they're right. The Irish wakes.
The boys
are
have been to a
fun.
few wakes. Not to be fair, wakes are a little bit different because it's like it's a lot of standing around talking to people,
catching up,
maybe having snacks. The boys love snacks. They always ask for donuts. But this week we went to the actual funeral with the boys, which was in the chapel of the funeral home. It was a Catholic service. It was all the singing and the
up and down and
the ceremony of it all.
And hey, you should join our church. Are you sad? You should join our church.
So we went to a restaurant afterwards to decompress and have some good food. And the restaurant was right down the road from Walmart. And we were like, well, while we're here,
let's walk in minus 30 degree temperatures to
so
Walmart in dress
cold.
shoes.
And we got like halfway there.
Fun.
We got like halfway to, I mean, it was like, what, 3/4 of a mile maybe.
I don't even.
Maybe.
Not even. Barely.
Half a
quarter.
mile.
Barely quarter of a mile. But we turned on each other about a quarter of that way.
The boys were so disgusted that we were dressed warm enough because we left the house with warm clothes on. But
for a funeral. To get from the funeral to the Uber, but we were not dressed for walking outside at all.
Henry was not having it. He was like, why are we out? And I was like, we're halfway there now, man. We're not going to stand here and wait for an Uber.
We were full of ribs and chicken,
We're getting to Walmart.
So
we're going to
all
warm
brave.
up. So we went to Walmart and we thawed out when we got to Walmart and got your knitting needles and a few other things. But we got an Uber home.
Yeah, and I did start a new sweater, which is really going great. But again, the pattern, it calls for this long circular needle, and you just can't make the neck with it. So it's like, okay, so I just
when you say that, it sounds like one of those needles that they use in a hospital for stitches. When you say a circular needle, but it's like two knitting needles attached with a piece of like hose almost.
So you can knit in a circle. And I've never knit a sweater from the top down prior to this one, and it's different. I'm used to starting at the bottom, and then you taper when you get to the shoulders, and I hated doing the shoulder part when I used to knit from the bottom, and then discovered you could do drop shoulders, which is basically like a t-shirt where it's just a straight rectangle basically that you sew onto the outside of a rectangle shaped body. And I love that. But this seemed like a challenge, and of course, it's been a weird few weeks, so I wanted something to distract me. And I thought, oh, challenging pattern, that'll be fun. So I'm on the third one, still don't have a sweater, but I'm getting closer to a sweater.
You have several sweaters.
Yeah. And it's fun. It's definitely, it helps. It really does help, because at least I'm mad at knitting instead of anything else going on.
I just looked at the clock, and it's 11:11. Does that mean something?
That means that we're in the right place. And I got to say, I'm a little grumpy, in case you couldn't tell, but I know, I'm positive that within the next 30 to 35 minutes, that mood is going to change. Just like when I write in my journal, when I hit a certain point in the pages, like I know I'm going to feel better. So it's a matter of sitting down and doing the thing.
This is the Are You Mad at Me medicinal podcast.
But there is a point where, like, I know that when I write, I'm going to feel better. I'm going to work it out. I'm going to figure out what's going on and what thoughts will feel better. And there is a point where that happens, and it's the job is sitting down and doing it. And same with the podcast. Like, I know I'm going to feel better, and hopefully I would like to imagine that there's people out there listening to it who, get a kick out of us and at least have some idea that our week is going the same way. And I will say off the top, and this might change the whole direction of the podcast. It might not be a grumpy podcast, but I'm very excited. Very, very, very excited.
Exciting things happening. There
really is. We are starting an open mic at Broderick's Pub, which is my favorite pub on George Street.
It's a pretty fantastic place.
It's my favorite. Well, it actually used to be on Water Street, and it was my favorite pub downtown, and then they moved over to a bigger space, and so now they're on George Street. But they're on the end of George Street, like where the away from the festival, so they're not a part of the George Street Festival when it happens.
That's not George Street West. That's just the western end of George Street.
Or is it East? I don't know.
Well, George Street West is where the hotel is.
Are you making
that's where Jag is. That's George Street West.
Oh, yeah.
And then, but George Street...
Yeah, that's way up. That's like there's a church and stuff
It's
up
the western end of George Street, down where Jungle Gyms and the strip club and the embassy.
There's the world-famous Cotton Club right down the road. So a lot of times...
we always end up parking next to, when the boys are like, why do we always park here? It's like there's always a spot in front of the strip club.
Yeah. Yep. So
when we drove, we don't have a car right now.
Yeah, now we just walk from the bus. But anyway, Broderick's Pub is...
So yeah, an open mic, a youth open mic.
Yeah, open mic for young performers, and it's starting this Sunday down at Broderick's from 5 to 7 Newfoundland time. And I'm really excited. I'm hosting.
This will be out before then. Yeah, it'll be this Sunday. Yeah. So this is out on Wednesday.
This comes out on Wednesday.
4 days later.
The very first open mic for young performers is going to be this Sunday on February 2nd, and then there's so it'll be every Sunday. It'll be every Sunday. So 5 to 7, and I think we're booked already.
We've had a lot of response.
Yeah, I think we might have a full lineup already. Yeah. We've got a feature performer, our buddy Paul Murr. He's fantastic, and he's going to be doing originals. I'm pretty sure. He's amazing. Like, if he was a little tiny bit older, I would help. I might have him down anyway, because the next thing after the open mic is on the 12th of February, in between every Sunday. On the 12th of February, we're doing a songwriter circle.
Yeah.
And Paul has a bunch of originals, and he's brilliant. So I might actually have him back. It's still, so the songwriter circles are from 6 to 8 on Wednesdays. And you can, young people under 19 can be in the pub up till 8:30 because they serve food, and the food is amazing. So I'm looking forward to it.
Sundays at Broderick's are great because 11 to 4 they have Jig's dinner.
11:30. They start at 11:30. 11:30 to 3 is the Jig's dinner.
And then 1 to 4 is usually Black Gold playing.
Yep.
And then 5 to 7 will be the young performers open mic.
Yep.
With Vickie Morgan hosting.
So thanks to Darcy and Caitlin and Will and Annie for giving me the opportunity. I'm happy to partner up with them and offer the.
So we're gonna have it's gonna be a regular open mic for the first hour and a half, and then the final half hour of the show is gonna be a featured youth performer.
Yep.
So, and you said this week is gonna be Paul Murr.
Yeah, and we've got Ellie Walsh is gonna be on with us, and Zelia. oh my God, I can't remember her last name. I think she just goes by Zelia.
She goes by Zelia.
She's amazing.
I think,
Yep. And so she's going to be one of our youth performers in a few weeks.
Like our
featured performers.
Featured performers.
Yep. And they can all absolutely come into the songwriter circles as well if they wanted to. So like if they like it down there, and I'm sure they're going to love it. But it's going to be really great. I love Broderick's. The talent that they put on that stage is fantastic.
It's a fun stage.
I got up there a couple of weeks ago. I had my first time on the Broderick stage and fell absolutely in love with it, and had a chat with Darcy, and we both have very, very similar approaches to what we want to do with our lives and what we want to see as a legacy and what we want to do for the kids and stuff. So it's really that we're calling it the next generation of Newfoundland musicians, and it's great because young people, part of, he's almost getting them before they're too scared. Because a lot of adults that I've taught guitar and I've played with and done songwriting classes and stuff like that with, and a lot of them are just so nervous, and they're trying to reclaim that innocence that they had when they were young and didn't know to be scared to get up and perform. So I think it's going to be really fun. We got I think our list is almost, if not full already. But we'll stick around if we need to. We'll stick around after 7 to make sure everybody gets a chance to play. And so Darcy and I are very, very excited about it because it's very close to our hearts, and it's really great to see the next generation coming in, nipping at our heels, trying to get us nipping at our heels. But it's going to be great, and it's going to be great.
That's this Sunday.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. So that is a really positive thing that's going on.
Yeah, that's exciting.
It's nice to have that water line, like that the water line, where you can see how high the tide gets.
Yeah.
And then when the tide goes out, it's like, I know that there was a point in my week, in my life, where it was really good and the tide was in and everything was great. So that's really good to know.
There, yeah.
I'm glad we have that to go by because it's a very nice environment and lots of great musicians down there. It's really great. So, of course, Black Gold, like you mentioned, is Kevin Evans and Larry Martin and Darcy Broderick and sometimes Gordon Cormier. And they're all fantastic.
Yeah, we saw Larry and Kevin and Gordon played this past Sunday, and they were fantastic. I hadn't seen Gordon before. I just met him for the first time this weekend, and he's a fantastic guitar player.
Oh, my God. He's heading out on a tour of Canada pretty soon. He's actually doing a provincial tour, I think this spring or this summer, and he's got a Canadian tour in the works. So so check him out if you see him on the road. He's fantastic, super nice, super talented. So that's gonna be great.
Yep.
So how about your week? How's your week been going?
Well, it's it's Monday evening, so the week is just starting, but it's been great so far.
We should switch to podcast time.
So my week being from up till now from the last time we did a podcast.
From this last Monday.
That's that's a week. It's good. Yeah. Had some school, had some hanging out time with you and the boys. We started the boys like the video games, and they like their computers and their phones, and sometimes it seems like we lose them a little bit into internet land, and so the past few days we've just put on a movie with dinner, and I don't know what happened, but we made some Shrek reference while we were out walking the other day.
Peter made a face.
And it looked like a face that Shrek makes in the first movie, and so we were joking about that. And then when we got home and making dinner, we just put Shrek on. And I haven't seen the boys that excited about a cartoon since they were 5 years ago. So they literally just sat down and watched the whole movie with us, all 4 of us in the living room watching Shrek, having our dinner, hanging out with the dogs. And so tonight we watched Shrek 2 and Henry is 14 and he was like, we got to watch Shrek 2. I love these movies. What is happening?
Yeah.
It's been fantastic.
Yeah. So, and much more effective than just yelling at the back of their heads while they're on a device.
Yeah.
Turns out engaging and making eye contact goes a long way. So that's our little homeschool section to how to reconnect. Because sometimes in the middle of the winter, I think we got 8 hours of sunlight right now. And man, it is hard to be that cheerleader. Come on, let's go do a family thing. And
it's a rough time of year.
It's rough for everybody.
After Christmas and New Year's, it's all right, what's going on now? Because it's dark and it's cold and what are we doing? I saw a thing the other day that this has been the darkest 10 weeks of the year or something, the 10 darkest weeks of the year, and
when is that over?
We're past it. We're through it.
Oh, really?
So
it's just.
But I guess you could also say the darkest 11 weeks of the year and the darkest 12 weeks of the year. But let's go with the 10, and we're out of it.
We're on the other side of it.
We're past it. So it's getting.
It is kind of bleak.
It did
when all the Christmas lights come down and everybody's back to
I think that's when you're done with the holidays. It's we We don't have the lights and the presents and the family time
stuff to look
and
forward
stuff
to,
to look forward
or
to.
stuff to dread, whatever you're into.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes it's a relief. I feel like that week after Christmas is just the best.
Yeah.
And I like the 3 months leading up to Christmas. It's just that week is like, oh my God. Ugh. Anyway. Yeah. So
we're getting closer to spring all the time.
That's nice.
We had a lot of snow today. I was walking to the bus stop this morning very early to get to school, and it was heavy snow. And I was like, I checked my phone right up until I'm locking the front door to leave the house. Like, you sure we're having school? Am I really walking down the hill? And we're walking to the bus stop.
Oh.
But I mean, and then by the afternoon, it was sunny and clear.
Speaking of school, thank you to Craig and Allison for Vickie too. We love her, and she's doing her job. It's doing great. And so I'm avoiding making the clothes because the shirt I made 7 times, but I need to get back into it. I know that. And so I have been procrastinating by making sweaters, but that has not cheered me up. Usually if I make something and it's successful, it cheers me up, but I can't wear this sweater because it's, the yarn is all, so it's wintertime, so my skin is a little dry, and so this super soft yarn catches on my dry skin.
Oh yeah, that's
I
the
can't
worst
put
feeling.
anything on underneath it because it's just too sticky. It's too
icky.
Catchy. So if anybody wants to buy this sweater, it's $4,000. Oh, I made this shirt too. If you'd like a shirt that says "Don't be a C," and here's the thing. I made these right after the pandemic because I forgot how to be around people, and I needed a little reminder when I would have an anxiety attack before I was going out in public places. I needed a reminder of this is your baseline. This is the baseline for getting through life. You don't need to impress anybody. You don't need to be the center of attention or control, captivate the room. Baseline, just don't be a cunt. And I'm sorry, Nate, if you just decided to look us up and you're like, oh my God, they're saying bad words. I'm sorry, but
this is our podcast.
This is
we
how
can
we
say
are.
Whatever we want.
This is how we are. I swear all the time.
It's on your
shirt.
shirt.
So the shirt says, just don't be a cunt. And so it's upside down. So if you're looking at me right now, it's like, what is wrong with her shirt? It's for me. It's when I look down. It's like, wait, why am I here?
And you made a few other shirts similar to that are backwards, so when you look in a mirror, you can read it.
So I have another one that says, be kind to yourself. And I actually have that on the back of my mug right now. It says Mulberry Creek on the front and be kind to yourself on the back. And I have these little things, right? I don't want to, I don't know. I don't need a tattoo where everybody else can see it. It's just little things for myself.
I feel attacked right now.
Some people put tattoos right on their bodies to give themselves
Some people get tattoos and they're dumb.
Welcome to our podcast. This is... oh my God. I love your tattoos. Your tattoos are fantastic. I'm saying...
I don't need no stupid tattoos. I got it. No, I got it. I was thinking the other day that...
I have flying mugs.
You can show me later.
I'm sitting right next to a banjo. That's about to get some wings. See, I'm threatening them right on the air. But anyway, what were we talking about?
You were talking about your shirts.
Oh, yeah. I made shirts.
But
and so you can get a shirt like this if you want. There was another one. I feel like there was another design. It was be nice to yourself. I think it was this. Anyway.
Yeah, you made a few.
Josh made a shirt for our children that has a big skull on it and the fuck off right on it.
It was a commissioned order. They told me that that's what they wanted.
Yeah, that's right. That's specifically what our children asked for.
So we went to after the. Was it at the funeral?
Peter was so embarrassed when he realized he didn't mean to, and I would be fine if he did. I wore this one. It's been washed since, but I wore this on Thursday. Thanks for doing the laundry, by the way, this weekend.
Welcome. I do my own laundry.
That's a Nate reference. You should go, if you haven't seen it already, go watch the special that came out on the 24th of December. It's hilarious.
So yeah, when we got to the funeral, Peter unbuttoned his jacket and realized that he had on that T-shirt, and he was like, "Oh man!" And we were like, "Nobody cares."
No,
nobody cares.
But you know what? What I found, I don't know. I have to thank everybody that's been listening to the podcast because I look forward to doing this every week. And so, when some little infraction happens during the week, it's like, I just got to hold it until the podcast.
I'm going to talk about it on the podcast.
I'm just going to hold it until the podcast because let's be honest, the people that I'm going to complain about on here are not listening to the podcast. It's the same camp of people that keep asking us to do what we do for a living, and they ask us to do it for free. And if they were listening to our podcast, they would know we're not in that business anymore. Of volunteering is great, but
volunteering our skills.
Yeah. So here we are on a podcast every week going, hey, hire us. And the people are like, hey, you got a few free hours or a few free weeks to work on this project for me for free? No, I don't. Anyway, why was I? At the funeral. Have you ever been left hanging from a hug?
When you say left hanging, like not like a handshake where you just put your hand out and they don't respond.
Oh no, exactly like that. Or like if you go to do a high five.
But with a hug, you're actually already touching the person's body.
No, in hug position.
So like you hug them and they don't put their arms up and hug you.
Well,
back?
There's a ceremony of it, right? There's like, you see the hand moving and you can tell, like I know this from teaching self-defense, you can tell when someone's about to punch you in the face because their body language changes, and it's impossible to just stand next to someone and not, like, unless you get punched from the back or whatever. But usually when I teach self-defense, there's a whole mechanism that happens, and we say keep watching their eyes. Like if you're looking at somebody eye to eye, it's pretty hard for them to get their arm from down here to your face without you seeing it coming. Same with handshakes, same with high fives, same with whatever.
That works with driving too. I heard that in the driving class one time. Make eye contact with somebody. Don't just like it's like if somebody's pulling out into your like turning onto the road, instead of just assuming that they see you, make eye contact or prepare to stop. Like, you know what I mean? Like make an eye contact so you know, you can see what somebody else is getting ready to do because of where they're looking and what they're...
A lot of it is a little intuitive too, because you're watching where they're looking and stuff. So there is a lot of communication that happens that's nonverbal. So I go in for a hug and this person didn't want to hug me. So I'm in there's an emote on Fortnite. By the way, if you play Fortnite, I'm Mrs. Mulberry Creek Mrs. MRS Creek Mrs. on there if you want to play Fortnite with me. So there's an emote where you go up to somebody and you go, and this is me, arms wide open right now in case you're listening just in the audio version. And so I go up, and it wasn't even like that. I was pretty close to the person, and they did not want to hug me. So I was like, oh, maybe I'm misunderstanding. But then I tried a second time the next day, and same thing. So it was pretty awkward. Of course, it was a relative who died. And so you assume that everybody that's there is like relatives and cousins and aunts and uncles and different relations and stuff like that. So I figured, everybody's going to hug. No, man, she left me hanging twice. Oops, it was a woman. Anyway, it was like, okay. Anyway, the ribs and the ribs at Kelsey's really helped soothe that and knowing that I was going to be able to go on the podcast. So if you have an embarrassing story from a funeral or anytime you've been left hanging for a hug, let me know. I don't know that that's ever happened to me in my lifetime, but twice with the same person.
One of my favorite things, and this happened to me the other day when we were leaving Broderick's, I shook somebody's hand and said goodbye to one of the musicians that was there. And then we were leaving, we were putting our jackets on, we were leaving, walking out the door. And then the same person was kind of still close behind me, so I turned around and said goodbye and kind of did it like a low wave. Oh. And he thought I was going out for a handshake, and I was like, I guess we're shaking hands again. So I was like, all right, well, this is weird. I already shook your hand. We're doing it again, though.
Oh, that's embarrassing. At least you're getting affection returned to you, though.
It was returned, but
What's
it was one of those. Oh.
Okay, so here's the "Are You Mad at Me" portion of the podcast. You ready for this?
Yes.
This is why I'm so grateful for things that go easy and things that go well. So we've been kind of going back and forth for a little while to do an event for an outside agency, and not really agreeing on the terms. And I'm learning. I'm really learning to figure out what I want. And of course, it's helping a lot that we're watching Yellowstone. Beth Dutton is my hero. I don't know how it ends. Don't tell me.
We'll have what we're watching on TV this week segment later.
But it's inspiring to watch because it's like, oh yeah, oh my God. So anyway, I go into this negotiating, and it's not going well. And then earlier this evening, I get this message, and I'm not sure what somebody's intention is trying to say this. And again, it was like, you know what? It's okay. I don't need to respond. I'm just going to talk about it on the podcast because I know they're not going to listen to it. But they actually said, who would pay this much money to a person doing this job? I don't want to say details because I don't want
the amount of money that you asked for.
Yeah. I was negotiating, and it was just, there was a whole bunch of other information.
That was just one line.
That was just one line, and I just couldn't. My left ear started ringing. I think there's I don't know what that means. If you know what that means, leave it in the comments. Let me know what it means.
I think it means our cabin has depressurized.
We're approaching YYT. Anyway, it was there was this big long email, and this person said, "Who would pay that much?" I'm just one, and they surrounded it with flowery language. They said, "No, I'm really wondering who would pay this much money for this." And if I hadn't already, Brene Brown talks about this a lot. If I hadn't already reduced the rate to meet them where they're saying they are, I was just kicking myself because like I proposed something. They came back with like lowball. And I went, okay, I just said, no, thank you. And they came back going, okay, hold on. We'll figure this out.
Yeah.
So they come back with a little bit higher, but it was still way low. Right. And I said, okay, if we can nudge a little bit on this, the rest of the stuff we can figure out. And that's when they came back with, I'm just trying to figure out who would ever pay this much for what you do. And oh my God, I raged to my fingernails. Like, and I didn't want to respond. I didn't want to, what's the word? Like, I didn't want to show my cards. I didn't want to let them know how much they hurt my feelings. And I was so mad at myself for giving them another chance instead of just going, I already said no. I let them in my space, and I'm so mad at myself. But anyway, just in case anyone in listener land out there is having similar experiences.
So this is one
you're
not
alone.
You mentioned Brene Brown, but I'm going to bring up.
Sorry, yes.
I'm going to bring up Esther Hicks because you mentioned you got this contrast that's actually happening right now at the there's a thing happening. You got this thing at Broderick's that's very exciting. It's happening. It's going forward.
So easy. And
they're
so
excited.
Welcoming, and they're so respectful.
There's this other thing that's like, oh, it's not living up to this nearly as like it's not getting anywhere close to this. So it's a really good way to see balance. Like this isn't giving me what I need.
So I've been reading this stuff lately about this mirror exercise that you can do. So when you look in the mirror, it's not reality, right? What you're looking at out here is not reality. It's a reflection of what's going on internally. So if whatever you're thinking and feeling is what you're broadcasting to the world all the time. And a reflection is actually just what you put out. It matches, it's vibrationally brought to you or whatever. And so if you don't like what you see in the mirror, it's up to you to change it. And so that's what I find really frustrating is like, I attracted that somehow. Like that must be how did I attract that? Like at the same time. And I wonder this sometimes when these things happen along the way, these little peccadillos, as they'd say on Schitt's Creek. Like, how did I attract you into my life? Like, you're wonderful all the time. And I must be doing something right because you're still around and you like me and I like you. And it's a great back and forth, right?
Yeah.
So I just wonder sometimes, like, how is this happening in the same environment? Like, how do I attract these people? And maybe it's just like I don't know, maybe it's like you're training for a marathon and this is just snow. Like maybe it's just a little thing to make it see if you'll try a little harder. Or I don't know what it was, but it was just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I'm just mad at myself for letting it anywhere. And so the reference to Brene Brown, and you can go look this up. She's got a few real zingers that are just brilliant. And I don't know if it's in her Netflix special or not, but there was something about, it might have been on her podcast, but she said, when I charge full price to do her, when she does her speeches or her, what do you call it, keynotes. She does keynote speeches for places. And she said, when she charges full price, they are appreciative and they respect her and they treat her wonderful. When she does it for a reduced price and sometimes for free, the amount of appreciation and respect goes down exponentially. So she said when she does it for a reduced rate, she doesn't get as much respect and they aren't as nice to her. And when she does it for free, when she expects that they're going to appreciate her and respect her even more because she's doing them a favor,
they treat her like she's doing something for free.
They're so much worse. And I don't like, that's a really sad statement that Brene Brown is having those experiences because she's brilliant. Like she's got her PhD and she does all this research and she's well respected. And like, if she's having those experiences, what chance do any of the rest of us have? It just goes to show how much value we put on money. Like it's the be all end all. And I don't mean for the people who are charging for what they do, that they're qualified to do and benefits people around them. But it's the people who are hanging on to money that just rub me the wrong way. Like they act like it's their money a lot of times when it's some organizer who's putting a thing together or some, conference organizer and like they have a budget and they just like if someone said, I'm going to charge you an extra $10,000 for spoons or get pets of butter flown in that are shaped like daisies. That's a very specific reference, but it happens. I've seen it. But like those other things, like if someone said the sound system is going to cost extra or the catering or the chairs that you're putting out are going to cost extra. As an event organizer, I would say, okay. But with human beings who are bringing their energy and what they're good at to a room, it's just amazing that people squabble over pennies.
Yeah.
And it's not pennies. I think it's about they want to win. They want to feel like they have power.
Yeah.
And I hate that I
true.
gave anybody power over me. Like I'm just kicking myself over it. But it'll be fine. Like and my response is to not respond. I know I could probably save myself some grief by just, but
just leave it alone.
I think just
focus on
I'm
the
just
going to
feel better and just move on because it's not worth my time.
Maybe he's checking out the sweater on Vickie too over here.
Aren't they amazing? The sweetest beagles. They're the sweetest little beagles. Hello, little baby. Hello, little girl.
So yeah, I think it was pretty funny. You mentioned Yellowstone because I was thinking earlier. It seems like we talk about what we've been watching. It seems like we pretty continuously talk about what we've been watching over the past week, and we finished Shrinking, which was fantastic, and then we started Yellowstone, which there's 5 seasons of it. So far, I don't know if they're making more. I'm not going to look ahead and get spoilers, but it's a pretty good show. It's intense. It's very intense. Yeah. It's a grown-up show.
It's real good.
It's not silly or anything. We watch a lot of silly shows.
I mean, my God. All I can see is Bodyguard. Like, he's just, I don't know if I've ever seen him in a role where he's not someone to look up to, and, I just love it.
Field of Dreams, Robin Hood, Bodyguard, what was that one that he did with, there was a pretty recent Western that he did. Oh, I'll have to look up the name of that one. It was really good. Oh, Open Range. Man. It was really good. Yeah, he's pretty good.
As you can tell, maybe is sniffing this sweater because it has basically been her bed for a little while.
She's like, why can't I lay on it?
It went right on, she's been laying on it. So she's like, why is this on this? Why is she on Vickie too? Are you okay? You want me to take the sweater off? Yellowstone has been fantastic.
Yeah,
it's been really, really great to see. Sometimes maybe shows up when she senses I'm frustrated, or like when she tells me it's time to go to bed. Sometimes she'll just lay herself right across my knitting.
Yeah, while you're knitting, she'll lay on top of your.
Or if I'm sewing, she'll put herself right across the material, which is pretty sweet. So she's a good.
It's like she doesn't even care that we're doing a podcast.
Well, no, I think she's very energetically lined up, I think, and she's a good little animal, what do you call them? Emotional support beagle. Yeah, she's great. I'd highly recommend beagles for people. But see, I already feel better.
That's
just
good.
Talking about it really feels better because
we're 33 minutes in.
See, I predicted 35, so it does help to have a podcast and to be able to connect with people this way. And I like the schedule. I like putting it out on Wednesday mornings, and
it's been working.
And then
for
the rest of the week, it trickles in. Like we'll get feedback and comments and stuff, and people get in touch and say whatever, comment on whatever we're talking about. And so hopefully, I would really like to think that this helps. This helps other people, not just me. I mean,
it's helping us, and who cares about anybody else, really?
Wow.
Now, a couple weeks ago, we were talking about stuff.
Clip? Is that going to be a clip?
That's going to be a clip. Yeah, we were talking about stuff that you wanted to talk about on the podcast.
Yeah.
And we didn't get to it last time, but you mentioned that you wanted to talk about
proms.
Prom stories.
Okay, you first.
Me first. You have lots of prom stories.
Do I? I have one.
So here they call
I've only been to one prom.
Here they call them grad, right?
Yeah.
There's no prom.
Yeah, there's no junior prom or actually, there might have been one in grade 8. I don't remember. There might have been a dance in grade 8, but I don't think so. I know we had like a graduation ceremony, but I don't think there was like a dress up thing because it was a pretty poor school. Most of the kids that went there were pretty poor, and I don't think we could have maintained.
So in the U.S., it was like junior prom, senior prom.
Yeah. And we didn't call it prom. So our grad, if I'm not mistaken, our grad happened in May, and then the graduation ceremony didn't happen until the following November. If I'm not, it might have been it wouldn't make sense to have a graduation ceremony while you're still doing the year, right? But it might, maybe.
We did ours at the end of the week after school was out.
Yeah, it's way different from the States. I know that.
Really?
But I'm trying to remember if it was the year we were, because my first recollection of grads was I was in the concert band at school and we played at the graduation ceremony that November. And I had been in concert band for 2 months. And I was in the percussion section, having played guitar my entire life. I didn't know you could play guitar in the band.
Makes sense.
That was a whole different...
You can bang on a guitar.
What?
You can bang on a guitar.
I wouldn't. So there was a jazz band that had guitars. I didn't know about jazz band. And so I joined concert band because they they only had a couple people in percussion and they were desperate. So I went in and I was like, he was like, can you read music? And sure. And so I was literally playing triangle and bells and crash cymbals. It was pretty fun.
Did you get to play those really big drums?
No, there were timpanis and I didn't get near those because there was actually someone who knew who had played from like his junior high years. So, and we had a drummer, like with a full drum kit. And he was super cute, and I chased him around for about 3 years in my high school. And so I got to be in a percussion section with him, which was really, really great. I mean, if not for Brendan in the percussion section, I don't know that I would have stayed in concert band playing a triangle, because I was not good at it. And it was very specific, where there was like, anyway, it was very specific. And I know how to read sheet music, but not in a way of translating it directly into notes coming out of an instrument. Like, I can tell you this is B-A-G, but as far as making my hands,
so you can look at it and figure out what it says, but reading it and playing it in time as you're going through is hard.
Yeah, the sheet music in front of me was purely cosmetic. Like the band leader would have to come over and say ding 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 ding. Like, he would show me what to do on the bells, and literally, even in my last year at concert band, would point at me. He didn't expect me to follow. He would point at me when he wanted me to do the thing. And
do you think every time you practiced, they were like, she said she could read music?
No, nobody cared. They were all looking at other people in the band room and figuring out who they were. Yeah, it was chaos. It was teenagers. It was a bunch of hormonal teenagers, true, yeah. Right? It was, and the concerts and stuff were so fun. And I think that's where I fell in love with the concert scene. Of the energy that happens backstage before a show is amazing.
High school concerts are a lot like plays. Like doing a play, like everybody's backstage, you're getting ready, you're getting dressed or doing makeup or getting your,
and everybody's terrified. And then there's the performance part of it where you don't even care. By the time you get to the performance, it's like, just do it. Like, they're watching, people are watching, just do it. But then the celebration backstage, I think I got hooked in grade 9, was just so amazing.
That's pretty exciting.
And people were across the room that used to play piccolos and flutes and clarinets and stuff, and they're still good. Like, I got a couple of friends from band now that are still, because you bond, like everybody's hugging and stuff after shows, or especially competitions in high school. There'd be a Kiwanis Music Festival. But to bring it back to the 2 months into concert band, we played at the graduation ceremony in the Gonzaga gym, and the band instructor was furious.
Why?
Because we were so bad. I didn't know we were bad. I was like,
but
this is great.
But the year it just started. Of course you
Well, there was a few people that had been there 2 and 3 years because they had been in.
So it was on
them,
really?
Well, I don't know. It wasn't my fault. Me there
Definitely
2 months. I didn't know how to play friggin' triangle.
You did perfect.
Well,
You've never done anything wrong in your life.
Oh, this is true. You threw me for that one. That's awesome. It was. I remember there might have been a crash cymbal part for that. But
there was an old Far Side cartoon where it was a picture. It was a guy with the cymbals in the back of the band, and he had a cymbal in one hand, and the other hand was just open next to it with no cymbal in his hand, and he was like, "I'm not going to screw up. I'm not going to screw up. I'm not going to screw up." And then the caption was, "Gary screws up."
I do remember the first time I banged crash cymbals together, and you do not put them like they're exactly the same size, but you do not have rim to rim. I can tell you that because your hair will blow back and everybody will laugh and find it hilarious and you'll look like an idiot. So it's a little off center. You got to do this kind of thing. And so there was some crashes. I think we might have done the like Ode to Newfoundland.
Oh yeah, I've seen people do that.
Yeah. It's not straight on because there's a big pocket of air that will blow back in your face and very bad sound from you don't get good sound and it's pretty embarrassing. Yeah. And so that was pretty funny to watch the new person. So, but I do remember the next day we went back to school and there had been an instruction given, I guess early in that week, that we had to wear a white blouse or white shirt and black pants. I didn't have a white shirt and black pants. I was lucky to have any clothes whatsoever. So I called...
Did you guys have to wear uniforms to school?
No, not in high school.
No? Okay.
No, that was before. So I called one of my aunts, and she was always good for borrowing clothes. Like, she always had like the nicest stuff and the coolest stuff and up-to-date stuff. And so she said, the only thing I have is this beautiful skirt and blouse that I just bought, but the blouse has black spots on it, like black dots. So it's a polka dot blouse.
So it was like a white blouse with polka polka dots on it?
Yeah. So I wasn't in the habit of dressing up for things. So I thought I looked fantastic. I was like, look, I'm dressed up. I'm wearing grown-up shoes.
I bet you were adorable.
Well, I thought so. But the band teacher did not. And so when we got back to school, I don't know if it was the next day or the following Monday, but anyway, he got the whole band. And I mean, we had a 60 or 70 person band. It was a big room.
A lot of kids.
It feels like 70. Yeah, there was maybe 45. Maybe 45 is a little bit more realistic. But it was like the big loop, the big horseshoe of people.
These are small details. It's okay.
It was a full band practice, and he let it rip. And he was like, you guys didn't practice. You guys weren't paying attention. You showed up late. And he didn't look directly at me, but he was like, the next time I say white blouse or a white shirt and black pants, it's not black stripes. It's not polka dots. And I was like, I feel attacked, because I guarantee I was the only person with polka dots. But I was like,
that's
dude,
a bit much to ask for kids in high school.
But I was like, dude, do you know what it took for me to get a ride to that concert?
Right. Exactly.
If I didn't have a dress, if I didn't have a white shirt and black pants, do you know what it was? Do you know what I had to do to get that ride?
Yeah. Anyway. But like, if it's a Philharmonic orchestra and they're getting salaries, they're getting paid to be there. Like, yeah, you get the right shirt, you're gonna
invest in it. But I didn't.
If you're a what were you, 10th grade or something, like
ninth
grade?
I was just brand new.
So what are you, 13, 14 years old? Like, come on.
Certainly not responsible for.
Give me a break.
That sort of stuff. I mean, I guess I could, but I never ever did it again. But I tell you what I did do when I couldn't. I didn't show up at a concert again with a polka dot shirt. I can tell you that much. But sometimes I didn't go because I couldn't get a ride.
And you didn't want to get yelled at again.
Well, or if I didn't have the outfit, or for whatever reason couldn't get a ride for a whole bunch of stuff. Because, a lot of people had stuff going on in high school that they weren't talking about in classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was times that I didn't show up. And then go back on Monday morning and there would be another lecture. And the line was, if you are convincing yourself that they won't miss you at the concert, if your part isn't important enough to show up to perform, you're also not important enough to show up at practices. So you can just drop yourself out. And it was like, man, just ask me what's going on at home, right? You piece of shit teacher. Jesus. Yeah. Anyway, like,
a little bit of honey could have gone a long way.
I don't know. Maybe times were different back then. I mean, that's a good solid, 30 years ago. Times were different.
92, something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it would have been. So, I don't know. Was your teaching experience like that? Oh, you were.
My teaching experience?
We talked about that last week.
High school experience.
Well, high school. Did anybody notice?
I didn't do anything in high school.
Oh, my God.
I was very, I'm not going to say lazy. I just completely 100%, like, if somebody had given me drugs, I would have been the biggest pothead. If not for living in the South and going to church and like that whole world, I think I would have just wanted to stay home all the time and play video games and smoke weed and eat Doritos.
So you did all that stuff,
I
just
did
no weed.
Nothing in high school.
I don't think that's
true. I had friends that I hung out with, and I didn't play any sports. One, because similar to you, it was hard to get rides. Like, it was just me and my mom, and she worked a lot, and for a long time we lived really far away from my high school. So I would, like, if I wanted to get to like practice, it was like, well, mom's gonna have to come get me after school. Nobody can drive me home because I lived in a different school district. It was a whole thing.
Yep.
So no sports. I played church basketball for a little while, but that was really just hanging out with my friends and super low stakes. Like, I had zero ambition. I had, like, until I went to basic training in the Air Force after I graduated, I had like zero stress in my life. It was like Andy Bernard. I've had a very easy life.
I have not had a stressful life.
So yeah, I didn't do band. I did band in the Air Force too. When I was after basic training, I went to tech school in Mississippi, and we had a band, and it was like, this is a good way to get like,
what'd you play in the band?
Letters of recommendation, and like it looks good down the road when you're trying to get promoted and stuff. Which I zero ambition, never tried to get promoted in the Air Force. It was like I got as far as I could without taking a test.
So what did you play?
But in the band in tech school, I played. I had a couple friends in my classes that were in it, and they were like, "Come on, just hang out, it's fun." And I was like, "I don't know how to play anything in an orchestra. Like, I can play like 4 chords on the guitar at that point, and that's it." And they were like, "Well, come play bass drum, because it's a marching band.
Oh,
so you wear the bass drum on your chest." And we marched and played it was the simplest, always the simplest beat. Yeah. Like, there was no thinking, no sheet music. And then after a while, one of my other friends that was in the band was like, "We need somebody on French horn." And I was like, "What are you talking about? I have never played anything like, I don't even." And they were like, No, it's easy. It's really easy. You can figure it out. Like, seriously, this is how they're talking to me about playing French horn. Like, you'll figure it out. I sat down and tried it one day. And they're like, "Oh, the note depends on how you hold your mouth and how much pressure you blow." Like, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. I'm going to go back there to the drums with my friend who, again, if we weren't in the military, we would just be back there smoking pot the whole time. Like, I swear, like, that would have been my vibe. Like, I would just, whatever I can do to just not do anything. All through high school. Probably something there, but I'm not going to dig too deep.
Let's not dig too deep. This is not that kind of podcast. Oh my God. Someone sent me...
This is medicinal, it's not therapy.
Someone sent me a clip from Saturday Night Live. I don't know how recent it is, but it was that men would go to the doctor more if it was more formatted like a podcast.
Like a podcast,
oh
yeah.
my God, it was
So the
hilarious.
guy goes into the doctor's office and it's like this, and they're like, "Hey bro, welcome to the podcast."
Yeah, and they're asking him his medical history, but it's
Yeah.
like in a podcast format.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was so funny.
Yeah.
So I was on every committee in high school. Anything I could do during school. So if there was lunchtime meetings, I was in. That was just, or like any sort of, if you could get class time to go to stuff.
I wasn't in any clubs in high school, but we had, for a little while, me and one of my friends were like, we should start a bowling club.
Oh boy.
Because we like to go bowling. And that's as far as we got.
Oh, you mentioned it and then dropped it?
Seriously, zero ambition. It was like, let's just go bowling. Forget it. We don't need to start a club. We could just go bowling.
I have to put out a thank you list one of these days for all the parents who drove me around. So like Angela's parents, Allison's parents, Danielle's parents. I mean, they were fantastic. And I was out of the way. I mean, I was in St. Philip's, which for some reason now does not seem like a long way from town. And if it was our kids, what a difference in how we're both describing our childhoods and what we do for our kids. I mean, I would go to the ends of the earth to pick up something in a different color for one of our kids. Because like the whole idea, like, oh, you'll spoil them. Like, oh, that's my intention. Because life is hard enough. And if we can pamper them for as long as possible, that's my goal. And I think it probably has a big impact that we had a baby who died. I think that has shaped us as parents in a big way.
I think the idea of like maybe this routine that you guys are going through with your kids in public school, and I don't mean anybody in particular, I really just mean this, like, it's almost like a tradition, like a compulsion even, of like, this is how you gotta do life, and you gotta and I mean we might be a little bit hippies in that sense of like a little bit, like we just, man, that doesn't feel good. I don't want to do that. And we don't.
Well, I think we're coming at it from a pretty educated and experienced point of view. Also, like if we were just whatever, I think I'd have too much anxiety around that. But knowing that we're both coming from education, and from our own experiences, knowing that this is like scientifically sound, that treating them with respect and positive reinforcement, and being a family and being a team and being respectful of each other all the time. Like that's the ground rule. I think I would feel less comfortable if I didn't have that education behind me to know that, like, no, this is
like, be like, yeah, we're obviously doing something wrong.
So I still get like a bit of a lump in my throat when we talk about homeschooling, because it's like, I don't know, I didn't do it like that. Are they going to be okay? And man, when I hear other parents talking about the stuff that they face in school, and it's like, oh my God, our kids, bullies, it's not even in our vocabulary, not at all. Like we are there's, and they, as far as like what they're interested in, and having our kids gone 6 and 7 hours a day is like, oh God, no, thank you. I love having our kids around. I don't know what you, but anyway, speaking of our kids,
I could take them or leave them.
Speaking of our kids, the other day, they're both absolutely hilarious and in completely different ways. Like they could both have their own specials, their own podcasts, their own comedy shows. Like they're both hilarious and both very different from each other. Yeah. It's funny when we walk anywhere, like they're off like a little pod, and it's like little Vickie and Josh, but the dynamic, like the sizes are way off because Peter's shorter and Henry's real tall, but Henry's a lot like me. Anyway,
Peter's not much shorter than Henry.
Not anymore.
He's getting there.
So Henry came up to us in the kitchen the other day, and I don't know why we were talking about proms or grads or whatever, and Henry goes, "Hey Dad, didn't you take a dude to your prom?" So you have to tell us that. I was like, we're talking about that on the podcast, and then I'll tell my prom story.
So my senior year in high school, my last year, we're almost done, and I was in Spanish 5 because I really like Spanish class. Like I really like languages and stuff. When I was in Spanish 5 in my senior year, and it was there was only like 4 or 5 students in the class because there wasn't that many people that cared to do that much foreign language. So we were like pretty close. Like the 4 or 5 of us that were in the class, we're all, we had a good time. We're all good buddies. So anyway, me and this other guy who was, I think, very similar to me, just like laid back, didn't have any real ambition or anything. Neither one of us had plans for the senior prom, which was that weekend. Like we were just like
no dates.
I wasn't dating anybody. He wasn't, like, whatever. And our Spanish teacher, the reason I'm bringing up that class was she had like recently gotten a gift card for this really fancy restaurant in town. And it was like $100 gift card. And she's like, I don't like this place. I'm not like married. I'm not going to go to this place. Like, I don't have any reason to go to this place. So you guys can have this if you want. And like, we're like, all right. So like the night of prom, we'll just go use this gift card, have some dinner at this really fancy restaurant, and then go and, just hang out with, like, we weren't that close. So he had his big bunch of friends and I had my friend, and we just hung out with, whatever. That was it. It was basically just to use the gift card.
So you were planning on going to prom with your friends?
Just going to go. Just go hang
out.
Okay. Yeah. It was just to go and,
So you decided to use the gift card.
So we had this gift card
before you went to prom.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it was like, well, she gave it to us and we'll share it, and $50 each for dinner. And in 1999, that was pretty fancy in Hickory, North Carolina.
Yeah,
it was one of those places that was like a restaurant, like in a house.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's like a house that's been converted to a restaurant.
Yeah,
so it's like
real fancy.
Yeah, there's like 6 tables. One of those places.
Yep. Romantic.
So romantic. I wore a tuxedo.
I was just gonna ask what you wore.
I wore a tuxedo T-shirt.
Was it blue ruffles?
It was a tuxedo T-shirt.
Oh my God.
So like I wasn't literally zero.
I would have loved you in high school. Oh my God.
I did have a corduroy 3-piece suit with a vest. It was brown. I got it at Salvation Army, but it never really fit me quite well. So I never got to wear it anywhere. Anyway, I went to prom. My friend Alan Jarrett, I'm calling him out. He's doing fine. he's wherever. I think he's still in. I don't know. Last I heard, he was still in North Carolina. And the Jarrett racing family, like
no,
the Jarrett,
like Dale Jarrett.
Yeah, that's his uncle.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, or his grandfather or
Very
something, like
nice.
one of those. Yeah. So anyway, they're from Hickory. That was like, anyway, Conover, right around Hickory. So yeah, I went to prom with a guy. Was
it Alan Jarrett?
Alan Jarrett was the guy's name that I went. Yeah.
You could have been married into the Jarrett family.
Not romantic at all. Totally just using the gift card. It was because we had a gift card.
I'm gay, but it's because of a gift card.
I'm gay for gift cards.
I just loved it. Henry just threw it out.
Yeah.
It was just like, hey, Dad, didn't you take a guy to prom? And I was like, wait, what? Okay.
Now,
that's a great story.
When I was in 10th grade, I had a friend that it was a similar thing, but it was a girl. And
I don't want to hear this. I'm not interested in this.
So it was totally going as friends. And she had, for some reason, she had these 2 friends in college that were girls. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how she ended up being
age?
Like, I couldn't get a ticket to her prom because I was only in 10th grade. Mm-hmm. They couldn't get tickets because they were in college. Mm-hmm. But so I don't know how she ended up getting 4 tickets. But anyway, the 4 of us went to.
You took 3 girls to a prom.
No, I didn't. I just went along with them. But this is funny because this was like 97 or something like that. Like my 10th grade year, 97, 98, something like that. Big swing music time, right? So I totally like went and rented like a zoot suit for like there's a picture of me somewhere with like a fedora and like a red vest and like saddle shoes. I think I even had a chain, and the pants were too big, like big baggy zoot suit pants. Like this was like Jim Carrey in The Mask level.
Yeah. Wow. And how many years before The Mask came out was it?
Oh no, that was after. It was after it was cool.
Okay.
But yeah, that was my 10th grade going to prom in a zoot suit.
Grade 10. That's Henry's age. Can you imagine Henry going to a prom?
I would have been 14, 15, yeah.
Wow.
So not only nerdy, also zero ambition.
I think a lot of people wanted to hang out with you, though, from the sounds of it.
I had 3 or 4 friends all through high school.
Oh, I think that's what everybody
We did
has.
okay. Yeah, we did okay.
I think that's pretty standard.
Like my friend Brian that I'm still in touch with, my friend Chris, we were super close. I stayed at his house like pretty much every weekend.
Yeah.
Like we still talk every now and then, and like so we're in our 40s now. We're doing pretty good.
I think if you can hang on to people that you talk to in high school, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a few people that you still talk to from high school. And
Yep. Everybody's gone in different directions, of course. I mean, it's been 30 years since high school. I guess that number sounds vulgar to me. I can't even get my head around that because it feels like I still feel like I'm in high school most of the time.
I know.
Because I still feel like I'm navigating and stuff will happen and like Henry will have something going on in his life and it's like, buddy, I got the same thing going on in my life. And he's like, how is that possible? I'm older. So
you're older.
Well, really, I think, and looking back, I wonder if all those adults we were looking at were just as figuring it
messy.
out. Yeah. I mean, they acted confident, but they
it seemed like adults had everything together.
Yeah, but now we're the adults, and it's like, yeah, we're still figuring it out. And when we talk to other couples and other adults, and it's like, wait, you guys are a mess too? Not a mess, but you're confused by stuff. Like you don't have an answer for this.
I don't think there's anybody that's going, no, everything's perfect.
Don't chew on my chair.
Like it really means everything's perfect.
I know a couple people.
Yeah, but they don't mean it.
Well, I think they actually believe it.
They believe it, yeah.
But that's so okay. I asked to go to my prom in October. Not this past
year?
October. No. So our grad was in May. Oh, I already mentioned him once on the podcast. I was pretty in love with this guy in the band, Brendan. He was left-handed. I don't know why that matters, but he was left-handed. I thought that was super
exotic.
cool.
That's exotic.
It is, right? It's so different. Great little drummer. And super cute. He had like a little baby face. And so I met him the first day I joined band, and I was like, well, I guess I'm going to retire here because I'm never leaving this band room.
I'm staying here forever.
Yep. So coming on Gonzaga used to run from, I probably still does, grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. So it was the feeder school, only went up to grade 8. So it was a little different in that way. So grade 9, 10, 11, totally in love with Brendan Galgay. And there was somebody else that came along. Who am I kidding? There was a whole bunch of people I had crushes on. I didn't date once. One date, not at all in high school. Not a single date in high school. I have to say that again. Not a single date.
We were very cool.
I had friends, but I had no dates. And so, might have been because I had so much, what did the kids call it? Riz?
Chutzpah.
No. I had zero Riz.
Oh, too much Riz.
Is it Riz? Or?
I think you have too much Riz.
I think it's not none. I had none.
And you were not skibbity at all. I don't know.
Sigma. Where were we?
So not many dates.
Not much skibbity Riz. Sigma. So I was looking ahead at the year because I'm a planner, and it was grade 12. So we were like, girls start talking early about grad because you got to plan your dress and whatever. And it just, I don't know. It was our
You couldn't just wear a tuxedo T-shirt?
I mean, if I had thought of it, I would have. But back in, it's mentioned, when you're king of the school, when you're grade 12, you're like, you run the place. Like, you're really, people look up to you. The other kids look up to you, and it's a big deal to be a senior. And so grad talk was always kind of floating around in that senior year. And so I was like, I was pretty good friends with Brendan at that point. Like, I kind of gotten over the crush, but I wasn't really interested in anybody else at that point. I don't know. I'm thinking as I'm saying that, yes, I was. But anyway, so around October, I had this thought that was like, I think if Brendan shows up at the grad with another girl, and I didn't even ask him, it'll be possible to console me. It'll be like
you feel pretty bad if you didn't try.
What was the movie about the grad? Carrie. Like pig blood level. I don't think I can handle it. Like, I think I'll probably murder everybody at the grad.
Burn the building down, lock the doors. Yep.
So to avoid such a tragedy at our grad, because there was a history of that had never happened in the history of Gonzaga. So I was like, I don't want to be the first one to bring a bunch of pig blood. So
up to that point, it had not happened. There had been no carrying.
So I called my friend Brendan. And I was like, look, I know it's super early, but I'm wondering, I just want you to know that when it comes time for grad dates, I would like to go with you. And he goes, hold on a second. It's October. Are you seriously asking me to grad in October? And I went, no, I'm not asking you. I'm letting you know that I have an interest in attending with you. If
you want to ask me when the time comes
so
around.
When the time comes, just so you know, I don't want to see you at grad with somebody else, and you say, "Oh, I didn't know you wanted to go with me." Yeah, because that's what happens in the movies.
So he tied a little string around his finger so he'd remember.
Yeah, and then we laughed, and I walked away, and I didn't have a date for grad, obviously, because it was October, and whatever. So closer to grad, I hadn't heard from Brendan about that conversation.
We had not spoken again about
that.
No.
We talked lots of times.
Just
we
not
had
about that.
Lots of adventures that year, but nothing about grad came up again. And then I think around March, probably, this girl walked in my class, and she was like, "I'm going to the grad with Brendan." She was just talking to her little chippy friends. And
so she said she was going to the grad with Brendan.
Yeah, everybody was real excited. Like, I can't believe he asked Lisa, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay. And that's how I found out Brendan wasn't taking me to the grad. So I was like, okay, what do I do now? So there was this other dude, Chris, who I had also fallen in love with. He was a senior the year before, and I loved him. He looked like not Charlie Sheen. Who's the other one? One of the brothers that was in Backdraft. He had the hair, like, the hair that flops down on both sides of their face, and he used to do this a lot, like put his hair back.
Emilio Estevez?
Yeah, maybe.
Was he in Backdraft?
He was in Dirty Work too.
They were both in Dirty Work? Men at Work.
Men at Work.
They were both in Men at Work.
The guy, he had a bandana tied around his head in the movie poster. And Chris used to wear bandanas.
Sure, yeah.
So anyway, Chris had this really great hair. I just loved him. And Chris lived a few houses away from me, and I can't explain the disparity between our two families. His was the top 5. His family was listed in the top 5 most rich, most wealthy families in Newfoundland at the time. I lived down the road about 3 driveways away. Completely. I mean, you would not believe the difference in income between those driveways. Like, there was. I'll tell you a story about that.
He could have gotten a white shirt, no problem, is what you're saying.
Yeah, he probably had a couple.
I wonder if Sparky's snoring is coming through.
Probably.
Because it's pretty loud behind me.
It sounds like the audience just fell asleep during my story. That's what I'm hearing. Sparky, come here, buddy. Come here.
You're embarrassing yourself, Sparky. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I called Chris around March. And so he had graduated the year before, and he was a sweetheart. We're still friends now. Like, I've seen Brendan around town a couple of times, but like we keep in touch. Me and Chris keep in touch. He's fantastic. So I called him that March, and I said, listen, how would you feel if you were invited to the grad? Like, what would your,
He had
graduated the year before.
Yeah, okay.
So he was a year older than me. And he, correction. He had graduated 2 years before me. So he had been out of Gonzaga for a while. And so I said, how would you feel?
He already had a wife and kids.
No, he didn't. He was only 18, 19. Anyway,
I said, how would you feel?
How would you feel about going to the grad?
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't ask him. I said, how would you feel if somebody, because I didn't want to get rejected. How would you feel if somebody?
I don't want you to think that I'm asking you.
Don't get the wrong impression. I'm not putting myself out there at all. Just wondering, if someone were to ask, what would you say? And he said, I'd be pretty embarrassed to go back. He said, I graduated 2 years ago. I'd be pretty embarrassed to go back to a grad at this point. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to grad by myself. Because other than those 2 dudes, I had zero interest in anybody else. In my senior year, I was focused on all the committees I was on and skipping class 3 times a week. And I had stuff going on. I didn't care. But if I was going to go with a date, that was kind of the dream. And like, Chris had this Chevy Blazer. It was like all black, but it had this like brown fade that it was brown along the bottom and it faded into the black. It was a spectacular vehicle. It was gorgeous. It was older. I didn't realize at the time, but that was just like a beater vehicle that his parents had gotten for him to.
Mm-hmm. But it was a cool beater.
Oh, it was. It was better than anything we were driving in our family. So the vision I had when I asked Chris to the grad was he'll come pick me up in the Blazer and it'll be like the time of my life and it'll be amazing and, whatever.
And
no, not quite like that.
Had the time. Sorry.
We just got to let him finish. So that's March. The grad's not till May. Okay. So I don't care about the grad. Like, the tickets are $50. You got to have a dress. I had none of those things. I had zero intention of going to that. I'm being honest. I didn't see how that was going to happen for me anyway. So it's getting close to grad time, and my group of friends had kind of paired off, and my friend Allison had started seeing this guy, Barry. And so Barry had a group of friends. So I had a bunch of friends all in different grades and stuff. I did fine in high school.
Okay.
But I just didn't date. There was no dating at all. And so Allison had started dating this guy, Barry, and Barry had this group of friends. And so I guess they came up with this idea that it'd be easier somehow if people paired off, like from our group into their group. Now, I don't remember if anybody else paired off, but so I remember Allison broached the subject and said, how would you feel if you went with this guy? Should I say his name? Is there any chance he's watching?
I mean,
Randall. His name was Randall.
Let's call him Randall.
Because that's his name. We should change his name. Can you change? Can the team? Can we edit?
Can you guys work on that? Do you think for next week? Yeah. Okay.
Can we call him Randall instead?
We have to say a different name so we have something to put in there over.
Sure. Randall.
Randall.
Okay. So Allison said, well, how do you feel about going with Randall? And I was like, ugh, no way. I don't know. I have no interest. Because it was a date. Like going to prom with somebody. I would have, until I heard your fantastic story about
0 dates.
Non-dates. I didn't realize you could go as friends. So I was like, no. And she was like, why not? Like, no, I'd rather, no thanks. I'll go by myself. Actually, and again, coming back to, I just haven't told everybody I can't afford to go and I don't have a dress. So, and also I had no interest in being set up with somebody. So anyway, so I'm standing out in the student entrance one day and this blazer pulls up and I was like, this is it. This is the day. Chris probably showed up to come in and surprise me with, like, do those, one of those, those inspiration porn videos where they show up and ask out somebody and it's like there's video cameras around and stuff and like they're asking out the girl that nobody was going to ask out.
It's a big moment. Yeah.
And it wasn't Chris. It wasn't even his. It was a different color.
Maybe he got it painted just for this moment.
Maybe he got a different blazer, Chevy blazer. I don't know. So anyway, as I'm standing in the doorway, I don't know, waiting for Allison or whatever, this Chevy blazer pulled by, and guess who got out of it?
Randall. Friggin' Randall.
And I was like, I mean, it's a nice truck. So anyway, Allison was kind of hounding me, and she was like, come on, you gotta go.
Randall, how would you feel about painting your blazer?
How about wearing this Chris mask? He was a sweet kid. Like, this guy was, he was nice enough. He was cute and all that. I just had zero interest. And so Allison was like, why don't you go? And I was like, nah, how does that even happen? And I, at this point, had never kissed anybody. I'd never been asked out. I mean, I guess if we're being honest, I had asked out a couple of people and got turned down flat. So,
idiots.
See, we would have got along in high school. You're liking me. I definitely like your liking me policy. So anyway, for some reason, we all decided to go out one day after school. And at this point, like, some of our friends had gotten their driver's license and whatnot. And so I had driven over with Allison in her little Toyota Tercel, and Barry and Randall. I feel like there was more people there than this, but we all went to McDonald's. And at this point, this might have been the third time I had been to McDonald's in my entire life. So
that was town.
Pretty fascinated by the chairs that do this,
The swivel chairs at McDonald's.
Like the first 2 times I went to McDonald's, people had to tell me to stop.
I don't think they have those anymore.
I don't think so.
They got weird little pillar chairs now.
Yeah,
that are like just cylinders.
So I'm sitting in the chair, like, just doing this, and I wasn't ordering any food because I didn't have any money. So anyway, we're just sitting at McDonald's, and I think maybe a couple of people got coffee or something like that. So I'm just sitting in the chair, just doing this, right?
Just a swiveling.
Turns out that the whole plan was to go out to a second location, never go to a second location. The chances of you coming back alive, they go down by 80% if they take you to a second location. I'm just saying. It's a bit dark.
I just looked at the clock and it's 12:12. Does that mean something?
Yeah, it means we're on track.
All right.
Yeah, it means something if you think it means something. So anyway, I'm sitting in the chair and I'm spinning back and forth like this, and just, I'm hoping it'll probably just drill down through the ground and I can go away. So Randall leans over and he goes, so Vickie. I'm like, yep. Spin, 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 spin. You going to grad with anybody? Spin, spin. Nope. Spin, spin, spin. He was like, how would you feel about going with me? I went spin, spin, spin. I was like, I don't know. And Allison and Barry were like, Vickie, answer him. And I was like, spin, spin, spin. Nope. Spin, spin, spin. They were like, Vickie, stop being a cunt. Just answer him. And so I lean over the table. I stop spinning my chair and I lean over the table and I go, listen, if I can't think of a possible way to get out of this, I guess I would go to the grad with you. And he went, Jesus Christ. And Allison and Barry were like, I can't believe you just said that to him. And I was like, I totally meant it. Spin, 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 spin. And guess who I went to the damn grad with?
Randall.
Yeah. And I did get to drive in a blazer. And his parents, it was such an experience because his parents were so thrilled.
Somebody was going out with him?
I don't know. But it was, when you look at it now, it's like their little boys dressed up going to a grad. He brought over a real life girl. I mean, they didn't know how I had said no, and, that they embarrassed me and all that stuff. And I mean, I should have just said no because I didn't want to go to the grad with him. I didn't want to go with anybody. I wanted to just go enjoy my evening.
They put you on the spot. Got
to go back to this. Still didn't have a ticket. Still didn't have a dress. So what he actually invited into my life was a whole bunch of stress because now I got to figure out these girls are talking about getting tans and hair, going to salons and
friggin' teenagers
buying these. Well, no, it was their parents. They were,
but
they were able to buy these big dresses and stuff, and I was like, I mean, I might be able to wear that spotted blouse.
I still got that polka dot
I could
blouse.
probably get that the polka dot blouse and a black skirt, but I mean, it's gonna look like anyway. So so getting closer to the grad. How did your grad go, by the way? Did you have fun?
Not memorable.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember. Like, no, nothing stands out.
Wow.
I mean, I would have maybe enjoyed more snacks.
Was there not food?
I don't think so.
So we had a dinner and dance for hours. So we had a meal. It was a pretty fancy meal because it was served.
Yeah, no, we definitely didn't have any. Ours was the last one that I went to my senior year with the gift card. Was in the community college down the road had a brand new gigantic gymnasium, a big. So we just had it in the gym of the community college down the road. Wow.
But it was a different location, at least from your high school.
Yeah, it wasn't at the school.
So ours was at the Delta Hotel.
That's fancy.
It was pretty nice. They had the whole ballroom. Gonzaga had a lot of money. And so the ticket, from what I can remember, I believe they gave tickets to low-income kids if they wanted to go.
Really? That's nice.
Yeah, we found that out eventually. Not early enough for me not to worry about it.
And where'd you get a dress?
A friend of mine had 2 or 3 dresses that if I'm not mistaken, someone had... This was back in the days when people gave each other bags of clothes. So if someone grew out of it, like everybody had so many kids, so when they would clean out their closet, there'd be bags and bags of clothes, and you had somebody that you'd pass that on to. And so somebody had given my friend a bunch of 2 or 3 grad dresses, and so she called and she said, I got 2 or 3 for you to pick from. And I was, all right, I would have wore a potato sack. So I went out to her house and I picked out a dress, and it was I thought it was pretty cute. It had like a velvet on from the hips to the shoulders, and it had this big dark purple strip that went across the shoulders. So it had no sleeves or anything, and the bottom of it was the dark purple satiny kind of material. And so I had to take it and get it dry cleaned. So I spent $8 on my grad dress.
There you go.
I was pretty happy with that. And I got to the grad, and there was this girl, Melanie Burry, who had the exact same dress, but hers was red where mine was purple. Oh. And we still talk about that when we see each other. And she's one of the people that I still see from high school.
Did she go to the mall and spend a bunch of money on her dress?
I don't know. I really don't know.
It'd be really funny if somebody gave it to her out of a big bag of clothes that was donated to him.
I wonder. I should ask her about that. I wonder how much was the retail. But looking back, I don't know who was low income and who wasn't.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a really good question. I should ask her that because we're planning a little get together soon for a little group of girls that have kept in touch.
Yeah.
But anyway, we still talk about our matching grad dresses, and so that night I don't know if you know this, but I'm socially awkward.
I didn't know from that story.
Yeah. So especially on dates that I don't want to be on, and so I did go to his house. We did a whole bunch of pictures down in front of his nice part of his living room or whatever, and his parents were taking so many pictures. And then we went up to my house, and my parents were like, are you going somewhere tonight? I mean, that's the level of interest they had in Vickie going to a grad. I mean, they had no concept. Where'd you get the ticket? Who's picking you up? It doesn't matter, whatever. So we went over to my grandmother's house and took a bunch of pictures in front of she had like a facade fireplace.
Oh, no way.
And so there's a bunch of pictures of me, Barry, Randall, and Allison in front. And me and Allison are looking at each other like, oh, my God. And we were a bit crazy in high school. So I went to the grad. It was such a good night. I wrote a song about it. This guy, my friend Brad, had moved away to New Brunswick, and he came back for grad night, and I didn't know that, but he was so awesome, and I wrote a song about Brad. It was, and he has heard it and likes it. So one of these days, I might play that at a songwriter circle or something, or I'll just try it out at a songwriter circle and see how people respond to it. But I don't know. But anyway, I did not really. So I ate dinner next to Randall, and we had our table of all of our friends sitting around, and it was great. He was really great and respectful. He was super nice. Got a corsage and all that stuff. Treated me like a girl, and then I think it was towards the last few minutes of the grad where he came over, and I had been just actively, after we got up for the walking around part, whenever I'd see him coming, I would just walk in a different direction and grab whoever, and dance with somebody, and just anyway, I was super uncomfortable because we're still calling it a date, and I was like, I don't know what to do on a date, so. But it was the last couple of minutes of the grad, and he came over and he goes, we should probably dance because, we came here together, and I was like, whatever, fine. And so I was like, fine. And we wrapped our arms around each other, and Garth Brooks said, the dance. That was it. 3 seconds.
That's the song.
Yeah. I was awkwardly saying, thank you for the ride and the inviting me and all that stuff. That was really
right,
3 seconds of Garth Brooks and the dance, and that was poor Randall's experience at my. So I was
sorry. You said the walking around part.
So there's dinner and then there's a dance, and so when you actually get up from the dinner table, like I just went to Brad's table after when we were allowed to get up and move around and dance when the music came on.
Because you had a dinner.
And there was a bunch of, what do you call those?
You didn't get to go to a fancy restaurant with a gift card like some people did.
I mean, we can only dream. Hopefully for one day our kids will have that. But there was those superfluous, what do you call it? Superlative awards.
Most likely to whatever.
I got an award for being the...
See, those just went in our yearbook.
No, we announced them all. And I got an award for the running the newspaper. I was editor of the newspaper in high school.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I remember when
One
they
of the
did
things I could do during school.
Yeah. They did the superlatives at my school when I was a senior, and they announced them over the intercom. Like they had
oh my God.
They had like polls like for all the senior students to vote, like ballots. And then I remember what has she got? Doesn't matter. I had moved away for a couple years and gone to a different school, and then I moved back for my senior year. So I was like kind of new, but kind of not. Like you know what I mean? And I remember I was like, I'm really funny, and my friends find me really funny, and I think that I should be class clown. And that's as far as it went, just that thought in my head. And then when they announced class clown, it was this guy that was a total douche. And I was like, really? And I was disappointed. But it was just like they came over the intercom and they're like, here's the results of the superlatives votes. And so it was like, most likely to succeed. I didn't get anything because I was new. Like a lot of people didn't know me because I had moved away from.
Okay, I have an idea. Let's do.
I think if they knew me, I would have been class.
Okay, so I'm going to propose this. We're going to do superlative awards right now on this podcast. Of the 2 people on this podcast, who was most likely to?
You should have thought about superlatives before you started this line of questioning.
I don't know. I would vote you class clown now. You're definitely the funniest guy in this house.
I'm the funniest male host of this podcast.
Wow. I mean, yeah. Can we add in some laughter?
Sure.
Can we be the team to add in some laughter there? I think that'd be great. Well, I'm sorry your high school experience wasn't more memorable. I loved high school.
No, I'm not saying it was bad or it wasn't memorable. It was just super low key. Like, I didn't, I wasn't like really trying hard to get into college.
I didn't.
I told somebody this the other day. I took my English class in my 12th grade year was like, it wasn't like advanced creative literature or something. It was like, basically, here's how you write a resume because you're not going to college, so you're going to have to get a job, and you're going to be living close by because you're not going anywhere. So it was one of those classes. It was like it wasn't like a remedial English class. It was just like we're preparing you for the workforce because you're not going.
Wow.
I
didn't have anything like that. I took advanced classes because someone told us early on in our high school years that you basically couldn't get into university without them, is what we were told.
Yeah.
It looks better on your transcript. And I had no intention of going to university because I didn't know it was a possibility. So I took all the advanced classes anyway and failed advanced math. And once again, I didn't attend very much. So I had to go back. I had to go back to night classes to do a couple of classes just to bring my grade up to get into university. Because when I discovered that I could go to university...
Financial aid.
Thank you, financial aid. But I went to the band teacher because I found out that there was a music... I mean, we used to do our concerts over at the music school. And I loved that building because every room in that music school at Memorial University had a grand piano in it. And I loved it.
Yeah, those are pretty nice rooms over there.
They're beautiful and acoustically perfect. And so I had found out that somebody got in playing guitar, like that you could actually, you needed to be able to play an instrument really well to even qualify to get into the school music. So I went to my band teacher all excited, and he had been watching me poorly play triangle and bells. He had never seen me with a guitar in my hands. And so I went to... He
didn't know you were actually a musician.
Had no idea. And
your band teacher.
Yeah. So I went to him and I said, I'm going to try to get into music school. And he said, I don't want you to set your sights on music because it's really hard to get into. And that's the end of that sentence. He didn't say you should still go to university.
Yeah,
it was just like,
you should still
don't, because general admit, like, what do you call it? general studies, anybody can get in. You just got to have a 65 average.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He was just not nice. I thought the world of him, but it turns out he wasn't very nice to me.
Well, now you have all the degrees.
Yeah, that's
so
hilarious.
Sucks to him.
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to stop for today.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we did it.
So we did all of our segments.
That's 10 episodes.
Congratulations on 10 episodes. I would take you to my grad.
I would have loved to go to prom with you.
Oh, we should do a prom.
Let's do it. Let's do it right here in the basement.
Do we have a glitter ball?
We got a disco ball somewhere around here.
Dance a little more than 3 seconds.
The disco ball freaks me out because it falls on the floor every now and then, and it's like actual pieces of glass.
Yeah. Authentic.
So anyway, we'll leave that alone.
Oh, how far we've come.
But this was fun. This was a fun delving into the high school experience of Josh and Vickie Morgan.
And thank you again to Vickie too. And
we'll get a different outfit on her next week.
Yeah. I was just thinking, oh my God, are we perpetuating stuff that are we putting out into the universe things that we don't want to experience again? I was just thinking about that story that I told earlier on the podcast. We should cut that out. That's negative.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Why? I was thinking, I don't know. I'm glad everybody is here with us, and thanks for listening, and thanks for tuning in every week. And really, it's so great to know that people are listening and enjoying what we're doing, and it gives us something to look forward to. And I hope if you guys are looking forward to it, that's great.
Yeah,
and I'm having fun.
It's really great to hear from people
really
that are listening.
We're hearing from people who are doing artsy things and taking the next step in their careers, and I'm really honored by that.
Yeah.
So I love hearing those stories. What I don't like hearing, and this is like talking to a room and saying, how come people didn't show up for the meeting? And you're yelling at the people who did show up. But I think the folks who aren't listening to the podcast are the same people who will call and say, hey, can you do this thing? I got this project.
Yeah.
And it just is like, do you know?
Join us.
Do you know I do this for a living?
Be a part of the whole
thing.
Yeah.
So again, there's no point in saying this on this podcast, but like if you happen to listen in just out of curiosity, or Josh cuts this as a promo clip or something like that, please don't call and ask us to do free work. Listen to the rest of the podcast. I'd like to get a car eventually.
Because we'll say yes, and then we'll feel terrible about it, and we'll do a bad job.
We're going to talk about you, though. We are going to make fun of you, and I'll probably write another book about it because I'm just compiling stories. And I saw someone the other day. Someone reached out. This was funny. I shared something from the Self Published Facebook page so October is Self Publishing Month. This is January. Okay. We got the calendar straight,
yes,
right?
We're in January.
Okay, so back in October, so the month before October arrived, I was putting out promotional posts about next month is Self-Publishing Month. We're going to have a bunch of workshops and events to have writers come out and read from their books. We're going to have workshops on how to make your ebook, how to make your audiobook, how to set up your KDP account, how to do a paperback, how to do a book launch, all the things, how to do a video promo, how to start your own podcast to promote your book, all of the things that, are part of under that self-published umbrella. And so I shared the post in October to in September, one of the groups that I'm involved in, because we're in a bunch of different communities as filmmakers, musicians, writers, parents, homeschoolers. Like we're involved in a lot of different groups, right? We have a lot of different circles. And so I had posted it on this local group that I'm in. And I didn't think anything of it. Like the events went the way they went, and there was a bunch of book signings, and there was a bunch of classes and all that stuff. Someone in one of those groups shared my post last week in January.
The post that says October is Self-Publishing Month.
And all these workshops are being advertised. And people have been getting in touch saying, can I have more information about the workshop? Like, oh, you mean from the...
4 months ago?
From the group we're in together that you... is it 4? September, October,
3.
November, December, January. How are we counting different? October, November, December, January. So 4 months.
4 months. Yeah.
So 4 months later, there's some interest in workshops in publishing. Anyway, I'm always up for like one-on-one for stuff like that because that's the workshops are like, they're great, but then people don't want to share what they're writing about, and they don't want to tell their personal, stories and stuff in a group setting. So the one-on-one works really better.
Yeah, that is nice.
Works way, way better. But it's just been kind of funny, like that the self-published thing is like, oh, I guess maybe I should do a February event.
It's like you're time traveling.
I mean, I did say I do have the tools now, thanks to Josh. I do have the tools to start my book anywhere in the house now. I have a mobile unit to type on, so I don't have any more excuses.
Let's go do that right now. Let's go start your next book.
Well, it's So self-publishing, if you're interested in that stuff. And there was a person who engaged in the page and was like, I'm so happy to hear a podcast about self-publishing. And I was like, oh boy, that's what we said early on, wasn't it? So there's a little bit of everything. Josh said, is this a mental health podcast to me last week after the last one? I think we're just having a good time, having a chat, bringing people into our space here. There's a space on the couch right here next to Sparky and Vickie number 2.
We'll move Vickie out of the way.
And or if you want to cuddle up, there's a chair to curl up, and that used to be from a Friendly Giant. But anyway, check out Self-Published NL. That's all the stuff we do professionally. And so if it's on our page, don't ask us to do it for free. Yeah, that's the best thing I can say. We're available to do the things we put on our Self-Published page.
And otherwise, we'll be back next week with another podcast.
I'm Vickie Morgan.
I'm Josh Morgan.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
We'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys.